Hello, Hamilton County. I'm Beth Grant with the American Diabetes Association, and today I have with me Jennifer Farrer from the American Diabetes Association.
Hi, Beth. I am the Executive Director with the American Diabetes Association, and we cover the entire state of Indiana to provide education, information, and advocacy around diabetes for the state. When we look at the numbers of individuals living with diabetes in the state of Indiana, we have nearly 750,000 Hoosiers that are living with diabetes and about 1.9 million that are at risk for developing diabetes or might have pre-diabetes. So the work of the association is really around how do we prevent diabetes from developing and how do we help people that are living with diabetes better manage their disease.
Wow, that's 750,000. That's an awful lot. So can you tell us about how does the American Diabetes Association raise money? Like, what are some of the avenues that you use to fund these programs?
So when we look at the need for programs here in the state of Indiana, we do a few key signature events that help us raise the money that we need. We have a walk, which is coming up on September 20th, and those dollars go to help directly support the programs throughout the state of Indiana. We also do a Black Tie Gala event to recognize somebody that has done really outstanding work in the field of diabetes, and that's a national award that we give at our J.K. Lilly Senior Distinguished Service Award Gala event in November. And then we have another event, which is a cycling event, and that takes place typically in the summer. And that is our Tour to Cure. So if anybody is a cyclist and they love to get out on their bike, you don't have to be an elite cyclist, but somebody who just likes to go out and maybe cycle to exercise, this is a great event for you. And obviously when we talk about the need to do events to raise money for our programs, we really want our events to be centered around physical activity. And so for our walk, come out and walk. It's important that we use walking and cycling to help us better regulate our diabetes.
Very good. So can you tell me a little bit about maybe some volunteer opportunities that might be available?
So when you think of an association like the American Diabetes Association, volunteers are critical for all of our success. So we look for volunteers that would come in and help us put on our events, maybe be part of our planning committee so that we can use their knowledge and their resources to help us grow our events. So volunteers are very important from an event standpoint. We also use volunteers to represent us in the community. So if maybe somebody has a real passion for presenting, or maybe they have knowledge around diabetes that they would like to share to the community, we have a speakers bureau that individuals can get involved with. And we speak to community groups, we speak to church organizations, we speak to companies and offer them training and education around diabetes. We also use volunteers in our office. So just a general office assistant to come in and help us with mailings and packet stuffing and just better manage our day-to-day activities in the office. So we have a lot of needs for volunteers, and if anybody's interested, they should reach out to the American Diabetes Association to find out what those opportunities might be.
And could you go ahead and share the phone number that they could call if they want to get involved?
Absolutely. Our phone number locally is 317-352-9226. That's 317-352-9226.
That's great. Why don't you share a little bit about the mission of the American Diabetes Association?
The mission of the American Diabetes Association is to prevent and cure diabetes and improve the lives of all people impacted by diabetes. And we deliver that mission, as I mentioned, through information, education, and advocacy. So if somebody is living with diabetes, or maybe the doctor has said you're at risk for developing diabetes, we have a tremendous resource in our website. And, you know, a lot of times the number one question around diabetes is, what can I eat? How do I manage my diabetes? What can I eat now? And it's important that they understand that diabetes really is impacted by what they eat. And if they're living with diabetes, it's more about the carbohydrates. So visit the website at diabetes.org to get a lot of information on how to fix your meals in a more healthy way, and to really understand all of those resources that are available From the mission of the Diabetes Association, we also talk about discrimination. And people with diabetes are often discriminated against because they're living with diabetes. And so there might be a child who has type 1 diabetes who is told that they can't go to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays because there's not a school nurse in the building. Or maybe it's somebody who is working in a retail establishment and they're told that they can't take the necessary breaks that they need in order to better manage their diabetes in the workplace. Or maybe they need to keep snacks or candy in their pocket or water next to them at their desk. And a lot of companies don't understand that there are necessary accommodations that are really expected from a federal standpoint that workplaces do need to offer individuals living with diabetes or other chronic conditions. And then when we talk about advocacy, and we advocate for the rights of people with diabetes to make sure that they're not discriminated against in the workplace, but also that they understand that there are resources available to them through the American Diabetes Association. Right. We have a network of legal advocates who can help if a case does need to go into some type of a litigating circumstance.
Well, great. Well, we've talked about events. We've talked about the mission of the American Diabetes Association. Can you talk about how other ways people might be able to donate?
Yeah, there are a lot of ways that people can donate. We talked about donating their time and getting involved with the association by volunteering. Okay. They can go online and donate gifts to the American Diabetes Association, or they can simply make a donation to the office here locally. But maybe there's a church group that's doing a fundraising event. Maybe there's a organization that has a charity event that they like to identify a charity, or maybe they're having a bake sale or some type of a poker run or some type of a bingo game that they're looking for a charity. We have a lot of organizations that do contribute to the association by just somebody who's been impacted by the disease has asked them to make a contribution to the association. And then obviously opportunities through plan gifts, through wills and estates is another way that individuals can support the American Diabetes Association. The association really is centered around helping those living with their diabetes, and we all know somebody that's been impacted by diabetes, and the impact is can be devastating. And when we talk about the complications of diabetes, there are things that we all see every day: heart disease, stroke, blindness. So when you think about making a donation to the association, think of those individuals that have been impacted by the disease and find a way to make that contribution to the association.
That's great. Well, we'd also like to, just remind everyone how they can get in touch with the office. Again, the office phone number is 317-352-9226. The website specifically for the Indiana office is www.diabetes.org/Indiana. And we are also out on the social networking sites too, Facebook and Twitter. For the office, the information is at AMDiabetesIN or Twitter at AMDiabetesIN. Is there anything else, Jennifer, you'd like to share today?
No, I really appreciate everybody coming out and being a part of all of the events that we have. And if anybody is living with diabetes and needs a resource, know that the American Diabetes Association is here for them.
That's great. Well, thank you. We'll go to a break. We'll be right back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience. Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters.
Welcome back. It's Beth Grant again with the American Diabetes Association, and I have Carol Dixon joining me now. Carol, can you explain your role with the American Diabetes Association?
Yes, I am Senior Manager of Mission Delivery. That means I coordinate and implement all of the programs that we have that affect our mission. So anything having to do with education from little children all the way through senior citizens.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about what the American Diabetes Association is. Now we're going to cover what exactly is diabetes.
So we're going to talk about two basic types of diabetes today. That would be type 1 diabetes and then type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes occurs when something has attacked the pancreas to make it quit producing insulin. Type 1 is an autoimmune disorder. So we typically think of type 1 as being a juvenile onset diabetes, and most often that is the case. It will occur in children or young adults. But type 1 can also occur in older adults as well. The difference then with type 2 is that we typically consider it adult onset, or that's what we've called it in the past. But in type 2 diabetes, the pancreas might be producing some insulin, but not enough insulin. So let me give kind of a demonstration on what happens there.
Okay.
So in type 1 diabetes, well, let's back up a little bit. The food that we eat goes into our bodies, and it turns into glucose. So as you can see on the screen right up there, someone has eaten a sandwich, and it's going to go into their stomach, and then from there, glucose is going to be made. The carbohydrates will turn into glucose or sugar in our bodies. We have to have that in order to live. We all do. Well, in someone with type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is not producing any insulin, and what insulin does for that sugar, the sugar has to get into our cells of our body in order to make our body run. So the insulin is the key that opens up that cell to allow the sugar to go in. So if you have someone with type 1 diabetes who isn't producing any insulin at all, well, that sugar can't get into our bodies, and therefore our bodies can't function. So in someone with type 2, that pancreas might be producing some insulin. It might be like a broken key, it just can't quite get it open, or maybe there aren't enough keys to open up enough cells to let sugar go in, and so then our blood sugar rises.
Okay, great. Well, can you talk a little bit about some of the risk factors for type 2?
Yes. Risk factors include being overweight, being over 40, race and ethnicity. Family history plays a big part into that. So we kind of need to avoid a stereotype of someone that is overweight saying they're automatically going to have type 2 diabetes, because that's not always the case. Yes, it is one of the top risk factors, but someone can be a very healthy athlete, but they've got a really strong family history. They may still go on to develop type 2 diabetes. So there's really only one way to know for sure, and that's to get a blood test with your doctor. The American Diabetes Association recommends an A1C test as the best diagnostic tool. So go to your doctor and ask for an A1C test to be done.
And what does that require?
Well, yes, I was going to. An A1C test is very simple. It is a blood draw. It could also be a finger stick. The beauty is you don't have to be fasting for the test. And the reason we like it so well is because it measures a snapshot of 2 to 3 months of your blood glucose levels. So it's going to be a much more accurate picture than a fasting glucose or a random glucose test that you might get done.
Very good. Let's talk about some of the symptoms, possibly, what we would look for.
Okay. So signs and symptoms include thirst, frequent urination, any sores that won't heal, blurry vision, hunger, being really hungry all the time even though you've eaten, and losing weight without trying. And the symptoms are the same whether it's for type 1 or type 2. Now, in someone with type 1, those symptoms are going to come on much quicker and impact you more greatly in a hurry. In type 2 diabetes, however, someone can have type 2 diabetes for 5 to 7 years, perhaps, before some of these symptoms start to manifest themselves. And that's, again, why we say you need to have a blood test with your doctor to make sure that you don't have type 2 diabetes.
Great. Now, can you talk about maybe some of the complications that come about?
Yes. Complications are many with diabetes because diabetes is a disease that's in our blood. Think about it like this. If your blood glucose levels are high, it turns your blood into kind of a molasses type of material. And so that blood is trying to pump through our vessels and our veins, and it can't quite get through the right way. And so that's causing some internal damage along the way. And where in our body do we not have blood vessels? So that's why it can affect us head to toe. So complications include heart attack and stroke. Oftentimes people find out they have diabetes after they've had their first heart attack. We hear that from heart hospitals all the time. Blindness, lower limb amputation, gum disease, kidney failure. Diabetes is even associated with diseases like cancer and arthritis and Alzheimer's disease. So those people that are in dialysis, most of them are there because diabetes caused their kidneys to fail. We mentioned blurry vision as being one of the symptoms. So diabetes is a leading cause of blindness.
Wow. Can we talk about some of the basic management for type 1 diabetes?
Okay. In type 1 diabetes, it's insulin. There are no pills. It's insulin. You have to take insulin. There are different types of insulin. There are short-acting insulins and there are long-acting insulins. So a long-acting insulin provides your body with a basal, a constant rate of insulin that's being delivered. And then with meal times, you have to take a short-acting insulin to adjust for whatever you've eaten. So someone with type 1 diabetes is constantly counting their carbs in order to know how much insulin they take. And then they have to take into consideration the activity that they're doing. So it's a complete juggling act of eating, the amount of insulin, and the amount of exercise that's being done. Now, someone with type 2 diabetes, when they're first diagnosed, they might be able to manage it with diet and exercise. Then if, as the pancreas gets a little more tired, they may need medication, such as a pill. Metformin is typically that first gateway medication that someone with type 2 diabetes will start taking. But it may escalate a little further. And it's not because necessarily that someone is doing something wrong. The pancreas just starts to get tired because it's working so hard to produce this insulin in type 2. So they may need to take some other pill, or they may take 2 or 3 different pills because they all act in a slightly different way. The doctor may also put the patient on insulin. So someone that's first diagnosed with type 2, if they went through the hospital for their diagnosis because they had some other extenuating circumstance, chances are their blood sugar was really high, so it required insulin to get them back normal again. And then they may go off the insulin for a while, take some pills. Type 2 is very complicated to manage because it's hard to find that exact cocktail that will take care of managing the type 2.
Okay. Well, are there any other, we've talked about a little bit about exercise too, and specifically, and was mentioned earlier about carbohydrates.
Right. So carbohydrates, as I mentioned, that's food that turns into sugar in our bodies. So things like carrots, potatoes, breads, pastas. And someone with diabetes has to manage that. They have to count their carbohydrates with their meal. So it depends on their age, their level of exercise. They need to see a dietitian really to be put on the right number of carbs for their particular circumstance. So, for example, I will say I have type 2 diabetes. My dietitian put me on a 45 grams of carb per meal regimen. So when I look at that and I think a sandwich has 30 grams of carb just in the bread, I have to decide, do I want to eat the bread and take up 30 grams of my carbs, or do I want to save some of those carbs for something else? I don't ever drink my carbs because I'd much rather eat them. So, we prefer, people drink water or sugar-free beverages, that sort of thing. Don't drink your carbs. A can of Coke can take up half your meal right there.
Wow.
So that's the balancing act. And then people that are managing diabetes, when they're looking at carbs, they need to look at sugar-free foods, because not all sugar-free foods have lower carbs in them. And that's important to note.
Great. Well, all of this has been great information. I appreciate you joining us today. We'll go ahead and take a break.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Hi, it's Beth Grant, back with the American Diabetes Association, and I have with me Rhea Ricker. Rhea, can you go ahead and explain what your role is with the ADA?
Yeah, thanks, Beth. So what I do for the ADA is that I am the manager of fundraising and special events, and my specific emphasis is the most awesome event, the Step Out Walk to Stop Diabetes. And it's actually coming up on Saturday, September 20th, downtown Indianapolis along Celebration Plaza, which, if you don't know where that's at, it's at White River State Park. Our registration starts at 8:30 in the morning, and then we'll get started with our program about 10. It's a great event. You can do a 5K run, which is 3.1 miles. You can do a 5K walk, or we also have an option for families that maybe that's a bit much for them. You can also do a 2-mile walk.
And along the route, you also have some rest stops available, correct?
Yeah, we've noticed that, if you are walking, sometimes you get a little tired. We've had some definitely hot events. We've had some definitely cold events. So there are 2 rest stops. One is if you're just doing the short walk, you can do a turnaround, and there's a water station there. And then if you do the whole thing, you go all the way down the canal, and at the at the end of the canal, there's a rest stop that you'll hit on your way back.
That sounds great. Let's talk a little bit more about the program for the event. We have some special guests this year, don't we? We are partnering with RTV6, and we are lucky to have Kevin Gregory and Rafael Sanchez come. They will serve as our MCs for the day. So are there any other activities that'll be going on during the time?
Yes, there's an entertainment family fun zone, and we're very lucky to have a partner with American Senior Communities, and they are going to come out and bring cornhole, family games, face painting. It's really a great time for everyone from young to old. There'll be several different events. There's a Meyer Health Pavilion where you can, speak with some of our top sponsors, and they'll give out some free goodies. There's a Walgreens area. They'll be doing flu shots. There's just so many different opportunities. We always try to recognize our Red Striders. A Red Strider is someone who walks with diabetes. We're very lucky in this state that we have a pretty good support group here, and we just really try to focus the day of Step Out Walk around the Red Striders and honoring those who choose to spend their time with us and also help fundraise. One thing about our event is there's no cost to register, but we do ask every single person to fundraise $100. And for that $100 that you fundraise, you get an event day t-shirt. It's a pretty cool design this year. I happen to say that it's probably one of my favorites. So, we have a lot of people registered already. We have 833 walkers as of yesterday. We have 156 teams. And, we have some pretty lofty goals here in the state. I'd like to see 185 teams. I'd really like this top 2,500 walkers. So, obviously, I have some strides to go here in the next few days. But I think that we can do it if everyone helps out.
Right. So how could people get registered for the event?
Registration is actually pretty simple. You can either call the office and talk to me at 317-352-9226, or you can also go online at www.diabetes.org/IndieWalk, INDYWALK. And if you do the online registration, you actually get a Step Out Center, and that's basically a fundraising site for us. So we really try to make the $100 fundraising that we ask everyone to do pretty simple. You can link your email up, and you can send out emails. There are some pre-formatted emails asking or trying to get you to help out other people to donate to you. And that Step Out Center, it's come a long way. People can actually download something called Boundless Fundraising. There's a mobile app that you can use. So we've tried just about everything that we know possible to make it easy to fundraise.
That's great. So some of the other avenues to get connected with Step Out, we have a Facebook page and a Twitter handle, correct? Can you let everybody know what those are?
I can. So our Twitter handle is @IN, and that's capital I, capital N, and then lowercase Step Out. Our Facebook name is Step Out Indiana, and we have come a long way with Facebook this year. And if you are interested in learning more about our event, Facebook is a great place to do that because Beth, our communications manager, is also very good at making sure that she posts stuff on there. We talk about our champions every time someone reaches $1,000. So if you fundraise $1,000 for us, you're considered a champion, and you get some exclusive day of event information and potentially some other goodies. And then also, we talk about different events going on, our kickoff, our wrap-up events. If anyone's passionate about helping out, but maybe they don't want to actually do the walk, we're always looking for new committee members. We've had a pretty strong committee this year. Both Julie and Steve Ulrichs, our committee chair people, have reached champion level, and they're super, super passionate. Cute story. They actually are both type 1 diabetics who met at our ADA Camp John Warville a long, long time ago. And as Steve tells it, he's pretty sure that he won Julie over in the first 5 minutes. So they're pretty passionate about the American Diabetes Association and helping us, and they have really just blown up Step Out Walk this year.
They've done a really great job. Are there any other Red Strider stories that you could think of that we might want to share with the audience?
We have someone that just became a champion yesterday, who is a teenager, an older teenager, end of high school age. And I read her story and I was so amazed. In her story on her Step Out page, she talks about how, no one should have to see their little sister be put in the hospital. No one should have to see their sister, pass out from having a low. So our Red Striders are really where it's at, and they are so passionate about helping out the American Diabetes Association. And so, there's Julie and Steve Ulrichs. They're both Red Striders. There's Cassidy, who just became a champion yesterday. There's just tons of great stories, and I encourage you to like the Facebook page, Step Out Indiana. There's a lot of Red Strider stories on there. There's also a PSA running right now on RTV6, and you can also find it on YouTube by searching American Diabetes Association Indiana Step Out. And those kind of things are really how we get our name out. It constantly amazes me how many people don't realize that we have a local Indiana office right here in Indianapolis. So I just really encourage you, if you know somebody that doesn't know about us, share our message.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Our local office also, we have begun a support group. It is the third Tuesday of every month, coming up September 16th. The topic is research. We have Dr. Tamara Hannon will be joining and will be our guest speaker for the event. So we encourage you to come out. Again, if you need directions for our office or if you have any questions, the phone number is 317-352-9226. And again, you can contact us, check us out on Facebook, check us out via our website also, diabetes.org/Indiana. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next month.